Greetings, my dear viewers. It is I, your horrible host who adheres to no schedule, Drahan. And I do really apologize, viewers. I meant to have a video out Friday. I also tried to get a video out for Monday, but I could not find the time to record. I really need to figure out some sort of scheduling pattern. This is the second time I've had this issue. Anyway, on with the video. Welcome back to Character Conversion. We are doing another Party of 3 special. Now, to explain that to new viewers, we will be going over 3 characters for this video, only doing short explanations for them, which means each character will have one thing in common. And we only go over one class explanation. Any extra classes will only get a mention at the end of said section. We will only be covering stats, background, and 4 class levels. And of course, race. So, with that out of the way, let us get into the conversion. And today's theme is movie icons. Alright, so what I failed to mention earlier is that since it is the month of October, we are going to be doing 3 spooktabular? Is that what the kids are saying these days? Spooktabular. That sounds stupid. 3 somewhat spooky movies. Of course, these were only spooky when they were first made. Our first character is going to be Count Dracula. So enough bantering, let's get into it. As always, we will be using the point-buy system for our stats. 13 across the board, except for Wisdom, which is going to be a 10. Race, of course, we are going to be using Vampire. More specifically, the Exalin Vampire from Plane Shift Exalin, which will give us a ability score increase in Charisma by 2 and Wisdom by 1. We'll have Dark Vision for 60 feet, as well as Vampiric Resistance, Bloodthirst, Feast of Blood, and 2 languages, Common and Vampire. So that'll give us a Wisdom of 11 and Charisma of 15. Dracula is known as a Count, which is a title of nobility, so of course we will be going with the noble background. For tools, go ahead and just do 3 Dragon Auntie, it doesn't really matter. For your language, grab Undercommon, it makes sort of sense. And you have the feature known as Position of Privilege. Now for our class, we are going to grab Paladin levels, and I'll explain that a little bit better here in a second once we get to our oath. For saving throws, we have Wisdom and Charisma. For skills, grab Religion and Intimidation. You also have the Divine Sense and Lay on Hands features. At second level, we get a fighting style. Grab Great Weapon Fighting. You have spellcasting that uses your charisma modifier, and you also have Divine Smite. At third level, we will be going with the Oath of Blood. You can find this sacred oath in Ravenloft Archetype's Nightmares of Barovia, which can be found in the DM's Guild. Now that I mention it, I might need to start putting links to the DM's Guild, more specifically the pages where I'm getting these from. I might make it easier for you to find them. Anyway, the Oath of Blood gets us oath spells for Charm Person and False Life at level 3. You also get Channel Divinity of Protein Form and Draining Bite. You also have Vampiric Nature, as well as the classic Paladin feature of Divine Health. Now, this does seem kind of weird. This doesn't sound like the original Count Dracula. In fact, it's not really. This build leans more towards the Dracula from Dracula Untold, which leans technically more towards the inspiration of Dracula, Vlad the Impaler. Which, was a little bit simpler for me to do, especially considering all the other options I had available. But that's fine. I loved Dracula Untold. It was a great movie. I don't really know much about the original Dracula movie, so we'll just go with that. Moving on. For level 4, we'll go ahead and keep going with what we are doing with our build and grab a feat or an ability score improvement if you don't do feats. But for your feat, grab Great Weapon Master. If you did do the ability score improvement instead, grab Strength and Constitution. Moving right ahead to our next build, we have Dr. Victor Frankenstein. Yes, I am talking about the actual doctor, not the Frankenstein's monster. That is actually that's actually a creature within Dungeons & Dragons called the Flesh Golem. I digress. We are doing Victor Frankenstein. For his stats, we get 10 for Dexterity, Strength, and Constitution. Your Intelligence is going to be your highest stat out of 15, Wisdom out of 13, and Charisma being the second highest at 14. For race, we are going with, obviously, a human. We'll go with the variant human, just for simplicity. Your ability score improvement will be a +1 to your Intelligence and +1 to your Charisma. For languages, just grab Elvish as your extra language. For your skill, grab Nature. And for your feat, just go with a tough feat. Nothing else really makes sense. So we now have a 16 in our Intelligence and a 15 in our Charisma. Our background is going to be the Cloistered Scholar. For your skills, you will be getting History and Arcana. Languages, you get 2 of them. Grab Undercommon and Goblin. It kind of makes sense. For features, you have the Library Access, which is pretty good. For our class, there were 2 different classes I could have gone with, but I decided in the end to go with the Artificer, one of my favorite classes. And it will make a little bit more sense once we get into the Artificer Specialist at level 3. For saving throws, you have Constitution and Intelligence. For skills, grab Investigation and Medicine. You have Magical Tinkering and the Artificer's Spell Casting. Big old air quotes there once again. I'm not explaining that. It uses your Intelligence modifier, and you also get Ritual Casting with it. At level 2, you get the Infuse item. And at level 3, you get a Specialist, which we'll go ahead and just grab Alchemist. Because one of the infusions you can grab would be to make a homunculus, if I remember correctly. Which, that makes somewhat perfect sense for Frankenstein. You get a tool proficiency in Alchemist supplies. You get Alchemist spells of Healing Word and Ray of Sickness, as well as the experimental elixir. And as always, at level 3 Artificer, you get the right tool for the job. And at level 4, I could not find any feats that would work with Frankenstein, so I just went with a +2 to his Intelligence at level 4. Now for our final character. Oh, one more thing. Additional classes you could use is the Wizard School of Necromancy. Alright, Dr. Jekyll. I empathize with Dr. Jekyll. He is a proud doctor who just wants to find a cure for man's evil, to say the least. and unfortunately becomes corrupted by his own inner darkness, which we can all relate to. For his stats, we're going to give him a 12 in strength. Dexterity and charisma are both going to be 14. Constitution is going to be our second highest score at 13. And his intelligence and wisdom are just going to be a flat 10. Yes, he is a doctor, but Hyde kind of balances it out. For race, the only one that truly made sense in the end was the shifter race. More specifically, the Longtooth. You get an ability score increase of 2 to your strength and 1 to your dexterity. You get proficiency in intimidation, have dark vision for 16 feet, have a shifting feature, and you only have common as your language, unfortunately. So we have a 14 to strength and 15 to dexterity. For background, the only background that made sense for Dr. Jekyll is faceless. Not literally, figuratively. According to this background, it's 2 different people that you get to play as, basically. Metaphorically speaking. For skills, you get deception, and normally you would have intimidation, but it's already been covered. For tools, you get the disguise kit proficiency, and you can choose whatever language you want. You have the faceless persona feature, which is a scoundrel, a criminal. Mr. Hyde is vile, while Dr. Jekyll is a gentleman, according to the tale. Complete opposites, which is what the faceless background provides. Again, the feature dual personality explains this perfectly. For classes, the only one that I could match with Dr. Jekyll is Rogue, unfortunately. Nothing else truly made sense. I can only fit this with Hyde, technically, but this could technically also work with Dr. Jekyll, especially if we go into a 3rd level for Rogue. You get saving throws in dexterity and intelligence. For skills, grab acrobatics, athletics, insight, and stealth. Expertise, do expertise in insight and intimidation. You also get sneak attack and thieves' cant. At level 2, you get the cunning action. And level 3, the roguish archetype, go with inquisitive. You have an ear for deceit, eye for detail, and insightful fighting, which makes sense for Dr. Jekyll in a way. And at level 4 is an ability score increase, which I forgot to put in for whatever reason. Let's go with... I hate doing this on the fly. We'll just go with 1 to your dexterity and 1 to your... Oh, I hate when it does this. There. Boom, shakalaka. Oh, flab nuggets. What on earth did it do? There we go. Alright, much better. And 1 to your charisma. Alright. Unfortunately, that's all I have time for today. I should be able to release this soon. So until next time, viewers, this has been your horrible host, and I am offline. Additional classes you can do Blood Hunter, Order of the Lycan, just for some added flavor. Goodbye, viewers.